From the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco. Brought to you by Geico. Switch today and see all the ways you could save. Choose VA. Veterans get the benefits you've earned. Visit choose.va.gov. And by SWBC Mortgage. Customized solutions to help you meet your personal and business goals. Visit SWBC.com. Now, your host, Shannon Gross.
Welcome to the show. It is a very special show tonight, we'll just call it our Thanksgiving show. Even though it's Thanksgiving Eve, we'll call it our Thanksgiving show, live here from Cowboys Club in Frisco, Texas. And before we introduce I can't think of two better people to have on this show for Thanksgiving. To my right, I'll introduce first Kevin Gray from 105.3 The Fan. How are you tonight, Kevin?
Shannon, good to see you once again. Nate, good to see you once again. Glad to be here. Happy Thanksgiving to you.
You too. How you been?
I've been good, man. A little busy. It's holiday time, so you know what I mean, spending more money than you actually have. Yep. But at the same time, it's a lot of fun, man.
All right. And to your right is my standard co-host on Wednesday nights. Also, my fellow co-host on Hanging with the Boys every weekday on DallasCowboys.com, the great Nate Newton. How you doing, Nate?
What's up, my friend? What's up, man? And I'm excited about this young man to my right. So go ahead on. Just ignore me. I got to get this.
Oh, you're sending out your tweet to promote the show? Okay. All right. And to your right, a man that is also familiar with working on Thanksgiving, both during his career and after, the great Danny White. Welcome to the show, Danny.
Thank you.
How you doing?
Thank you. Doing well.
Good seeing you.
Danny, I know you want to eat your salad, man. I know it's great, but you got to be a little more excited than that because he's more concentrated on the salad.
Know what?
The salad's too good, man.
This is why my media career didn't take off like some of my cohorts.
Right.
Me and Roger, I think, probably had the same type of demeanor, type of personality, in that we were trained by Coach Landry not to get too excited about things. You know, don't get overexcited or underexcited. Just keep an even keel, and that shows up when you become a broadcaster. Mm-hmm. You can really tell on the radio. You know, I mean, there's a big difference. So I've had to force myself to actually try to get a little bit excited about things, because Michelle, our producer, and people I work with are constantly trying to get me to amp it up a little bit, and it's hard for me to do, man. I mean, my whole life I've been trained to just keep an even keel, and so anyway, maybe before I die, I'll get it figured out. But
you know what? Maybe we can get you excited before the end of the show. That's going to be our goal tonight.
Okay.
So we'll work on that. Nate, I wanted to talk to you, but you still tweet.
Okay, no, go ahead on. Holla at him, brother. Holla at him. I'm going to get excited. Holla at him.
That's what I was going to say. One guy that we've never had a problem getting excited on the show is Nate.
Never. He's always ready to go.
Let's just I was going to save this for the last segment. Let's just kick it off since it's Thanksgiving and we're here together and we're one big happy family tonight. You've eaten quite a few turkey legs on national TV.
Yes, I have. Yes, I have.
What is your
and off of national TV?
Correct. Yes. Very, very observant, Danny.
Danny's warming up. Danny's warming up.
Yeah, well, I got somebody that'll add a little bit for that.
Look, hey now.
You guys. I knew him when he was Big Nate.
Yeah. When I was in the kitchen. You knew me when I was in the kitchen.
Yeah, the kitchen. That's right.
What was it like all those years, Nate? One, Cowboys tradition playing on Thanksgiving, and then two, What are some of your memories of sharing turkey legs with the offensive line and Coach Madden talking to you on Thanksgiving Day and Emmett being there? What are the traditions that you remember that stand out?
That was special. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait because I used to watch him on TV on Turkey Days. What was it like for you, Mr. White? Turkey Days.
Well, it was special for us. It was. The best thing that Tex Schramm did for the Dallas Cowboys was to negotiate this deal. And I don't know if everybody knows the story. Nobody wanted to play on Thanksgiving. Everybody wanted to be home with family. And so he went to the league and told the league, we'll play on Thanksgiving, but we want to deal with the league that we're going to play every Thanksgiving, and it's going to be at home. And what a big deal. Now, you look at this year, what a huge deal this is. Coming off an embarrassing loss, nothing better, Nate, as you know, than to get back on the field as quick as you can. What you hate to do is have a bad loss and then have a bye week. Mm-hmm. Then you're sitting around and it's just festering. And it's just so you get back on the field. You're playing a team, that we should beat. The Raiders are not playing very well right now. They have to travel. We don't. Then you get 10 days after the Thanksgiving Day game to rest up for the next one. So it's just a win-win kind of a deal. And to have it every year, to know that you can plan ahead of time, it was a big thing back then. Of course, back then it was us and Detroit.
Yes.
Now they got the third game. Mm-hmm. But it's still a big deal because the whole rest of the league is watching you. It's a primetime game, and anytime you can get that primetime stage where all the other players, all the other coaches, all the fans are watching, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Wow.
Go ahead,
wow. Nate. And I'm gonna tell you something, man. And I used to watch, man. I used to sit at my house, man.
What do you mean you used to watch?
No, I'm talking about when I was growing up. When I was growing up, I watched you. I watched Raj. I watched all of y'all, man. I'm coming from a kid point of view, man. It just, man, I've been a Cowboy since I was 10, 11 years old, man, watching it. So when I came and was a part of this, on this Thursday thing with these guys.
Nate was a big part of it, let me tell you. Not
more than one way, right?
Literally and figuratively. But
no, he don't get excited, but he can crack jokes.
No. But let me tell you something. When Nate joined the team, there was a difference. He made a difference in our football team, and that was the beginning. That was the beginning of the build back.
Yeah.
We took a dive in the early 80s. Now, 85, we won the division. We weren't supposed to. 86, we were off to the greatest start in the history of the Dallas Cowboys. And then I broke my wrist against the Giants. Then we went 1-7, 1-8.
We took a nose
the
dive.
The end of that year. Then the next year was horrible. Ooh. Then we got an 8. And that started seriously, that started the build back of the Dallas Cowboys into the early 90s. And then we all know what happened, after Troy got here and Nate started blocking for him. They made Nate a fullback and started giving him the ball, which was a mistake.
Blocking for him and
let it go.
He let it go
let it go to his head.
Hey, let me tell you, it was the beginning. I told everybody they built the team around me, not Troy, Michael, and Emmett.
That's right.
But you know what? Playing on Thanksgiving, man, and once we started winning, sir, things started happening, man. And John Madden, I spoke to Mr. Madden one day in New York. We was playing the New York Giants, and we was getting beat and all that. But I said, Mr. Madden, how you doing? And he called me by my first name. He said, how you doing, Nate? And it blew me away.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
It blew me away.
Yeah.
For John Madden to know me, man. And so he came a couple of weeks later. Even though we wasn't a very good team, he would still come. He came a couple of weeks later and said –
to call the game, right?
Yeah. And he said, I want to speak to Nate before the game. And we built a relationship, man, and it's still going on
Did he
today.
call you in the hotel?
Oh, man, yeah. We was at the hotel, and we talked, man, and then we – how do you come in and interview before the game and stuff like that at the back at the old place. And we talking, man, him and Mr. Summerall, and we enjoying it, man. And then he said, well, how would you like, if you play a good game, you can get a turkey leg. Man,
that's all. Say no more,
that's
right?
all you needed to hear.
I had a good game, and from that point on, whether I won the turkey or not, I was the guy that was introducing everybody for the turkeys.
It's funny to hear Nate talk about the old place. He's talking about Valley Ranch.
Yes, Valley Ranch. It was state of the art.
That's the old
when
place. Now, it's all relative because the old place for me was Royal Lane.
Yeah, Royal Lane, yeah.
Over there on Forest Lane. Forest and Royal, and that was the old place. And that's when we were a real football team, if you ask me. Now, my career goes back when – and then we got the fancy, the big hot tub and the cold and all the fancy locker room and it was state of the art. Everything was state of the art except the football team. The football team, everything
that was coming
went up.
later.
Football team went down. Yeah, it was coming later. But it's funny how you think the more money you spend, the more you surround players with all the facilities. And that it would make them better. It did not with us. And I think it was because of the type of player that Tom Landry recruited.
Yes.
He got guys that were old school, that were,
hungry,
hard workers. They weren't the fastest, biggest, strongest guys in the league, but they were the best prepared, hardest working, guys that hated to lose. And those kind of guys don't respond well to fancy surroundings and being coddled and babied and all that. And, so anyway, that's a little bit of the history of Thanksgiving.
Let me give you a better history.
Yeah.
When I walked into that old place on Royal Lane, because I came when the state of the art, and so I got back kind of early, and they're like, okay, now I'm gonna take you over here and let you see where the Cowboys used to practice.
Yeah.
Man, the carpet was dirty with guys spitting the spit tunes and smoking cigarettes.
Yeah, everybody smoked.
I'm like, what? And maybe you walked in like, wow, man. And you look over the fence and a big old field in the back, like a big old warehouse, blue. I was like, wow. And then they took us over to the state of the art.
Yeah.
Over to the old place, which this place makes
Valley
that
Ranch.
look like, Valley Ranch. Oh, I was like, man, I called my peeps, man. I wish my big combat phone back then could have took pictures.
Yeah.
Back then,
Big Zach Morris.
Yeah,
phone.
right, exactly.
Well, Kevin, did you grow up a Cowboys fan?
I did. So I'm a third-generation Dallas Cowboy fan.
So
actually.
what are your Thanksgiving Day memories?
Honestly, it's really cool because my dad is a huge Cowboys fan. For folks who don't know, my great uncle, rest in peace, Willie Towns, played for Tom Landry and was a starter in the Ice Bowl. Holds the unofficial rookie record for sacks in a season, and it was passed down to me and my family. So sitting at home Thanksgiving Day, watching Nate and Troy and Emmett and those guys do their thing, it was a lot of fun to watch. And those are some of the best memories that I have as a kid, being able to sit around, enjoy football, good food, obviously, and being able to watch Cowboys football. It doesn't get much better than that.
All right, we're going to take our first break. When we come back, Danny, you mentioned it, so I guess we'll talk about it.
Uh-oh.
Loss up in Kansas City. We got to talk about what happened and what we got to do to fix this thing,
be
man.
brief.
We will only spend one segment on it. So, thanks for tuning in with special guests Danny White and Kevin Gray to my right, and the great Nate Newton to his right. You're listening to Cowboys Crosstalk on the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network. We'll be right back.
from the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco.
Welcome back on Thanksgiving Eve for this special show with our very special guest, Danny White. And before we get back to the show, Kevin, did you know that at SWBC they have customized solutions for individuals and businesses, and you're just a click away?
I do now.
I knew that.
Well, I'll tell you what, after the show, all of you go visit SWBC.com to learn more and start your next adventure after the show. Don't do it on the show because we got a lot to talk about. Shannon Grove's here with Kevin Gray, Nate Newton, and the great Danny White. And Danny, you mentioned it last segment. I didn't even want to talk about it on the show, but because you brought it up, I think we have to address the issue. Kevin, what the hell happened Sunday?
Chris Jones is what happened.
Woo!
Chris
Nate,
Jones is
Nate
what
preached
happened.
all week, and that's all the only name he said all week on our show. So have at it, Kevin. What did Chris Jones do?
He wrecked the entire Dallas Cowboys offensive line is what he did. Whether it was Zach Martin, whether it was Connor McGovern, he was no respecter of the offensive line on Sunday. And they did a good job of moving him up and down the line, and he was really able to get a lot of pressure on the Cowboys offensive line. So I'm interested to see how they bounce back this week. Tyron Smith looks like he's going to be ready to go on Thanksgiving Day. That's going to be a big help to really stabilize that left side of the offensive line. But give Steve Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator for Kansas City, a lot of credit. Had a good game plan, physical play with his corners up against these receivers, and more importantly, allow guys like Frank Clark and Chris Jones to get home. And they had 14 sacks going into the game on Sunday. They had 5.
So was it 5? I thought they had 6,
5 on Sunday. Themselves, Chris Jones had 3.5 of his own. So that just tells you all you need to know about how the Chiefs were able to get after the Cowboys on Sunday.
Chris Jones had his coming out party in the Cowboys backfield on Sunday afternoon, and now the whole world knows about him. Unfortunately, we didn't know that much about him going into the game, but now we do. A little too late now.
Yeah.
That guy is a heck of a player. I think he's going to have a great season going forward.
Yeah.
What'd
you see, Nate?
Just, when I was looking at film on him, man, you know when you see a bulldog.
Oh, yeah.
And he, he has the ability to power over you. He has the ability. When I see a guy that's 6'5", 310, 15 pounds, and he can play a little bit of defensive end and a whole lot of 3 technique over the guard, and then he can get over your nose.
Yep.
That's a valuable
That sounds
guy.
like a nightmare.
And then he plays on a high level. His motor runs pretty high. So that's scary, and that's what alerted me to him. And I saw him a little bit last year, and then, and I hate to bring up money because as an ex-player, we always fighting for more. But when your starting quarterback has a contract that allows guys like him to get paid, and that was one of the things I remember. Chris Jones said, "Man, I want to be on this team because our quarterback took a little less, so I can be paid to stay here." And so I know when it's time to be big dogging, he's going to do what it takes.
Nate, as an offensive lineman, there were a couple of moving parts on the offensive line this week. One, Tyron Smith, game time decision, wound up not playing, and then you switched the Connors out.
Yeah.
Was that a smart move going into a week where you really you were going into a statement game? Should they have waited? Let that play out a little bit. Was that the time to do it? Did you agree with the move? Talk a little bit about the moving parts on the offensive line.
The reason the move didn't bother me is because it was twofold for me, and I tried to talk to some people that was close to the situation. They think these guys are pretty equal. One just had experience, and the other one didn't. Connor McGovern didn't have the experience, but they marked the other kid. You have had 3 or 4 games in a row where this kid has had 1 or more holdings in some games, almost.
Yeah.
You're talking about the officials mark. The officials mark.
Yeah. See, Danny, I try to tell people this, and you know this as a player. You have a 4-game window where referees look at film, and you have to erase all those bad marks because they don't want to see game after game after game. Well, he had 4 games and 4 holdings, 2 or more. You were marked. So now the coach before the game, like, hey, man, better watch that 52.
Yeah.
Hey, man, watch that 52 so players flailing on you. And even if you can get through the game and not holding, they're going to get him.
Yeah.
And he was marked. And they want to take that pressure off that kid. They still believe in him. They want to take it off, and they want to see what this other kid can do because they say he earned the right to have a chance. So it's just too bad that you got to have Chris Jones as your
first assignment.
Your first assignment.
Yeah.
But this kid played, and he got through the game, and he will get better. So let's give him a game or two to see because we know And I give it to Coach Philman, the offensive line coach. I think he saw what his kid was starting to lose confidence, So you got to make a change sometime. And you don't have but 17 of these. It ain't like the NBA, so you have 82 of them.
Right.
You only have 17 of them.
It'll help having Tyron Smith to your left to be able to look over and have some help on that left side of the offensive line, too, with Conor McGovern being there at guard.
Put that bionic arm out there and
That's right.
snatch him up. Danny, how big of a impact do you think not having Amari in the game? We saw a lot of drop balls. Like what we talked about it on our show. A lot of people out there are like, oh, CD's a number one, he's a number one. But you saw in this game where when your number two slides into number one, 3 slides into 2, 4 slides into 3.
Right.
the level of competition on the defensive side kind of makes up for that transition. So how big of an impact was that Amari not being in the game?
To be honest with you, I don't think it was an impact at all because we had Gallup coming back. Timing was good. From that stand, I'm thinking going in, man, this timing couldn't have been better because, you're losing Amari on the top end, but you got Michael coming back in, and we've got a great group. I still think, even without Amari, I think we've got one of the best groups of wide receivers in the league. But getting him back will be nice, no question about it. But I have not seen people get on Dak that quickly all year. This has been the best pressure-wise. This has been the most that teams have forced the opposing quarterback to get the ball out quickly. This team had the most impact of any team I've seen all year. So I don't think whether he was throwing it to Amari or who
CD.
He was throwing it to. CD or. I don't think it would have mattered because I think there's 4 guys there that can all run routes, get open, create separation, and catch the ball. But you got to get to them first.
Yeah.
See, I tried. When I look at a film, when I look at tape, I'm offensive lineman, whatever. The first thing I look at is because everybody has 1 or 2 great skill position players, whether it's offensive or defense. So the big separator is your offensive and defensive lines. Can your offensive line maintain this defensive line that you're facing? And if not, then that's going to affect your quarterback, and that's going to affect your receivers. And so whereas you may drop back and have perfect timing in other games, when you got to get this ball out quicker, even though you can anticipate a throw, a lot of times the receiver may have to work a DB, if I'm correct, and then he may not come out that break just right. Whereas you playing against a not-so-good team, you make up for that. But if you're playing against a team that's on point like these guys was, you had to be precise. Am I correct there, Dan?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the back end that everybody looks at. The media, the cameras, everybody's focused on the back end, which is the end of the play and not the beginning of the play. The end of the play doesn't matter if it doesn't work right at the beginning of the play. And what Nate's referring to is being able to – the quarterback being able to set his feet. Now, Dak is one of those quarterbacks. He's a Tom Brady kind of a thrower.
Yeah.
He needs to have his feet set. He's best with his feet set in the pocket rather than on the run, running to his left, throwing back to his right. Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes. Those are the guys that can make those throws, but they're not as good in the pocket. So we've got a quarterback that's one of the best in the league ever play the game in the pocket. And so we need the offensive line and the system that facilitates that, okay, that type of a thrower, and we didn't have it the other day.
Yeah, Kevin, I think everyone felt really good about this team up until the Broncos game. Everybody was like, okay, this lock for the playoffs. We're playing for the number 1 seed. Then you hit a bump in the road with the Broncos. And then it's like, okay, you're going to have a bad game. You got punched in the mouth. You bounce back. You have do what you need to do against Atlanta. You sock them in the mouth. You dominate them. You come out. You don't look back. Then you hit another bump in the road with Kansas City. And now it's kind of like, okay, what is this team? We thought we knew. Now it's kind of like, where are they at? Where do you think they're at right now?
I still have a lot of confidence in this team. This has been a really weird NFL season. You think about some of the games that you've seen this year.
Especially the last few weeks.
Exactly.
Crazy.
Buffalo loses to Jacksonville. The Titans lose to Houston this past Sunday. these teams have been going through a lot this year. So for me, it's about how the Cowboys respond after a loss. They have another opportunity to do so on a short turnaround this week. And more importantly, when you start thinking about the games going into December now, you got to go on the road to New Orleans after this week, and then figuring out how do you still compete at the top of the NFC, with the Packers and the Cardinals, teams that are still jockeying, for the number one seed. So I still have a lot of confidence in this team. This team is getting healthier. We saw DeMarcus Lawrence get activated. Hopefully he's coming back here in the next week or two. CeeDee Lamb, all these guys are starting to get healthy. That's going to be huge for this team going forward to continue to build that momentum and continuity that they wanted to have, coming into a stretch like this where they're going to be playing, important games. So I still have a lot of confidence in this team, though.
And me and Shannon go through this periodically. I like to think that this Cowboys team is a good football team. And what I mean by that is this is their first full year with the coaches being able to put their hands on them and getting these players in the right frame of mind. And it ain't about now. It's about what's going to be about 4 weeks from now when you really everybody's into the grind and into the now your team begins to know who they are. We get a few players back. By that time, in 3 or 4 weeks, we should have D. Law back. We should have
Randy Gregory
back. We should have even our Gallimore. We didn't forgot about him.
Yeah.
We should have him back, and he should be playing a role in this. And now, if we can just fortunately keep everybody healthy, now you're fighting for one of those top 4 playoff spots. If you could just become a better team, right now you're just a good team. Yeah. The AFC West is the league. Right now, they are the NFL, the Raiders, the Chargers, the Kansas City Chiefs. They set the standard for the last 2 or 3 years because remember when we was playing, the East was it. NFC East, we set the standard. They setting the standard, and this is how you got to play ball. Do you have the players to either get better or to learn how to play like that on a faster level?
All right, let's take our second break. When we come back, what's up with Zeke in the running game? Let's talk about that a little bit. And eventually we're going to get into a Thanksgiving Day battle that we're going to experience tomorrow between the Cowboys, and it still sounds so weird for me to say this, the Las Vegas Raiders. That's Nate's,
just call them the Raiders.
That's Nate's second favorite team.
Yes, sir.
We'll talk a little bit about that when we come back. Coming up next, all that and more with the great Danny White. You're listening to Cowboys Crosstalk on the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
Cowboys Crosstalk.
Check this out.
Broadcasting live from the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco.
Yes, WBC Mortgage. Join the more than 120,000 customers that we've helped to find their happier way home. Wait till after the show, but go visit swbcmortgage.com to find a pro today. Shannon Gross joined by Kevin Gray,
Yes,
Nate
sir.
Newton, and Danny White. Let's get back to it. So many things to
Danny
get to.
White would
We
not
got
be
Gray-
sitting
we
here if
got
it wasn't
Gray
for
and
Nate
White.
Newton. So
Gray and white. Gray and white.
We do have gray and white.
In living color. That's
Yeah.
right.
In
That's
living
right.
color.
That's right.
Why is that, Danny? You said you wouldn't be sitting there if it wasn't for Nate.
Danny White would. Well, you went down the list.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, the last guy wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the next to last guy.
Lock him, my
You know,
friend.
people, and as you get older, as I get older, you gain more of an appreciation for the parts of the game that made it possible for you to do what you did. And these guys, the Nate Newtons of the world, of course, made it possible for us quarterbacks to do anything. The fans,
Yes.
the media,
Yes.
parts of the game that at the time when we were playing the game, we didn't probably give it a second thought. But now, looking back on it, man, it's huge. Unfortunately, you can't go back and do all the things you'd like to do for them to say thank you. But it's a big deal. And every chance I get to do something that says thank you to the fans, to the media, to my teammates, I do it because you don't know how many more chances you're going to get.
That's awesome. You know what? We have 4 media members. Somehow we all wound up in the media.
Over to the dark side.
Right, yeah.
We came over to the dark side.
Let's
didn't we?
just real quick, Kevin, how did you get into media? Did you know that's what you
That's
wanted
a
to
long
do?
story, man. That's a long story.
Well, we only have
I guess the
15
quickest,
minutes in this segment.
The quickest version I could tell you is that I used to work in insurance, did that for almost 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Your boy got an itch to do sports media because he couldn't play on the actual field. So I was like, let's see if I can just cover some sports. Started a podcast about 7-8 years ago and just worked my way up from there, man. And here I am sitting next to Nate Newton and Danny White talking Cowboys football at the Cowboys Club.
Podcast.
Probably never would have thought that 10, 15 years ago, would you?
No, had no
Wasn't
idea.
even
I was
on the radar.
I had no idea.
Nate,
no.
did you at any point in your career know that you were going to wind up in the media? Did you have that itch? How did you wind up here?
No. What it was, my story is long too. It's too long, so I'm
No. You know what?
You got the Cliff Notes
Nate,
version?
you always
Come on, Mr. White.
Nate, you always squirm out of questions. We'll get
Mr. White, how
all
did
right,
you
we're
get
coming back
involved?
to you,
He's
Nate.
good at it.
Danny,
He's good at it.
how did you get into media?
I don't know.
I just fell into it.
When you get out of your career, you go one way. You go into coaching, or you go into the media.
Yep.
Right.
I went into coaching, and for 15 years I coached in the Arena Football League.
Yes, you did.
And
yeah.
and had a great time doing that. And then when the Arena Football League went away for me, it was Compass Media that came to me and started up this Cowboys. It was a matter of timing.
Mm-hmm.
They started up the national radio broadcast, wanted me to head it up, and I mean it was a match made in heaven, and we just have done it ever since. It's been 12 years now that we've been doing this, and we've got a great group around Michelle Salvatore, our producer. We've been together now for 12 years, and it's just been a blast.
I think I researched it a little bit. Y'all went into areas where it was hard for the Cowboys media to get into, and they went and penetrated these areas. I'm correct or wrong? Or?
No, you're right. There's 2 teams that have really a national and an international fan base. Mm-hmm. It's the Cowboys and the Raiders.
Yes.
And so those are the 2 teams that Compass went after. So you got Brad and Babe, and those of you that are within the local listening area, I think it's 500 miles or whatever it is, are stuck with them. Unfortunately,
We love Brad and Babe. We love them.
People come to me and say, how can we listen to it? Well, if you live in Dallas, you can't. You're stuck with Brad and Babe. And I say that, as you know, lovingly, because there is nobody that ever did it better than Brad. Brad Sham and, of course, Babe Laufenberg. And so anything outside of that, we're in over 200 markets. And it's a syndicated broadcast so that in every market we're on a different station. It's not like Sirius. It's not, it's people say, well, how do I listen to it in Salt Lake City? Well, you got to go find us, and my family, they're all over the country and they all want to listen to it, and they can, as long as their local team is not playing at the same time.
Yeah.
We get blacked out if the local team is playing.
Nate, you used to actually be one of the guys that actually liked talking to the media in the locker room, right?
Yeah, always.
Did that have anything to do with you coming over to the dark side?
Yeah. The thing is, a guy, Tom is his name. He called, man, and I can't think, ESPN local. This is when they had a local affiliation, and they called me and said, hey man, we want you to do a segment. And that's how I started. I started doing a segment, and then
when was this? How long ago?
Randy Galloway helped me get in the door.
Okay.
And there was wanting. See that? There was wanting Michael Irvin or Dion, and Dion was like, "Okay, I'll do it, but I need my guy Nate." I didn't even know what was going on behind the scenes.
There you go.
So they called me in and said, "Hey, we want you to do a segment." I did the segment. Then it turned into an hour. Then it turned into 2 hours. Then I turned into, I didn't want to get on the regular show because I think Randy wanted me to be a guy that breaks down plays and all that, because Broadus did it first, then another young man. I I don't want to do that, but I like popping in 2 or 3 times a week.
I'm not trying to break down film.
Yeah,
no
so
more.
I did with Coop for an hour. We did it right before Randy came on, and we did Nate and Coop for an hour. And it was very popular. And then the radio station changed. And so I went to nights. And I would tell them, I don't care how many nights a week y'all want me, because at nighttime I love it. Anytime after 8, 6 o'clock, I'm like, call me. So I started out doing 1 or 2 nights a week. Then one time I did 5 nights, and one time I did 4. So I was that guy. I was Chris Arnold. I was just that guy. Mm-hmm. And then the Cowboys called and said, Scott Purcell said, hey, man, would you like to do this? And I came over and I did it. He said, would you like to do this? I came over and I did it. There you go. And then I went out they called me out to the training camp, John Hickman. And I started doing it like me and you did. I started just hollering at the fans, talking to them, because we had this runway.
If you've ever been to the carnival, the fair, and the clown that's in the dunk booth that just talks trash to everybody, that was Nate. But he was in training camp.
I'm talking to folks. I'm getting people
without
to
the
sign
dunking
up.
booth.
Yeah, so I'm going crazy and everything. John Hickman said, I like that. You want to come next year? You want to stay a week? Because it started out 2 days. They still want to stay a week. Well, you want to stay the whole training camp? Then all of a sudden, I was in like Flint, and so they tried to get rid of me, but I said, nah, you can't do that now. I'm like a tick.
So the moral to this story for anybody listening that's trying to break into the business, do any and everything you get asked to do. Never say no.
No, that's right.
And just whether you want to do it or not, grind it out, and you never know what's going to happen, because it sounds like we all up here on this panel started out just not saying no, and somehow
then you have
here
to
we
get
are.
discovered. And then a guy like Nate, now, like people kind of knew who I was, but Nate, to see the game from his perspective, okay, first of all, is unique, but second of all, to find that guy that can also actually put 3 words together.
Yeah.
And is articulate and can speak about it and say it in a way that the fans understand it. Now you got something special, and it's just a matter of people knowing about a guy like Nate, and he's going to have all the work he wants.
Just don't ask him to read a roster.
Yeah, I can't read some of them names.
Can't read.
Like some of them names.
Those names,
like
get
number 91 for the Raiders.
Shade, man.
No, he's telling the truth.
How about Osa Odigizua?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, Danny. There you go.
Hey,
there you go.
It took him 6 weeks to be able to say his first name.
No, it starts
3 letters, Nate.
Osa.
It starts and stops with Osa.
Well,
you can dig the rest of it later.
We've all learned how to pronounce
Did he get
his name.
Haralahu? Did he get that down?
Which what?
Liram Haralahu. Did he get that one down?
Who in the world was that?
The kicker
I
for a
don't even
week.
deal with kickers. The last kick I dealt with was Danny. He was the punter.
He said he ain't going to be here long enough anyway.
Remember?
The
Yeah,
last kick I dealt with was Danny.
Yeah.
He was the punter.
All right, I'll tell you what. Let's take our last break. When we come back, in the last break, while we were off the air, Danny had a great topic that I want to talk about. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about Cowboys, Raiders, and what we think is going to happen in that game. All that and more when we come back with our guest of honor tonight, Danny White. You're listening to Cowboys Crosstalk on the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
SWBC Mortgage's Cowboys Crosstalk.
Yeah, check this out.
Broadcasting live from the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco.
SWBC PEO, helping to alleviate the HR administrative burden that comes with running a business. Leave the worrying to us. Visit swbcpeo.com to find out more after the show. We are here, Shannon Gross and Cowboys Club on this Thanksgiving Eve. To my right, Kevin Gray. To his right, the great Nate Newton. And to his right, the great Danny White. And before we get to Danny's topic that he brought up in the last break, I brought this up and I forgot about it, so I just want to touch on it really quick. Don't have to spend a lot of time on it. Are you guys worried about Zeke?
No.
Worried about him how?
His injuries. Some people have said he's not looking like he was in the last game like he has previously in the year. Just want to know if you guys are worried.
Yeah, I'm as long as we get the big boys up front.
So we're good. Okay.
That's my theory.
All right.
That's my theory, man.
A running back has to see a crease.
Yes.
There has to be some softness. Sunday, you handed the ball to Zeke, and boom, he was hit. Almost the same time the ball got to him. Running backs don't like that. But if they can see just a little crack of daylight in a guy like Zeke, that's all he needs, and he needs less of one than most running backs.
All right, good enough for me. Let's move on to what your topic that you brought up in the last break, and I thought it was great, is every year this happens. Teams start out of the gate, and you're like, they're going to run away with the division. They're running away with the conference. They're doing this. You're starting to position yourself for the playoffs halfway through the season, and it's like a horse race. Then all of a sudden, some of those teams drop back, and some teams start to surge. Now you're starting to see, Danny, you brought this up, teams that are positioning themselves to make this playoff run and leapfrog other teams. You mentioned the Patriots. Watch out for the Eagles, right? You've got the AFC West is kind of up for grabs. You've got all these, the Packers. Who do you guys see right now that worry you about surging and passing other teams to be on the lookout for? You can stick to the NFC, or you can even go over to the AFC and tell me who you're looking at right now.
I think for me, and Danny brought up, this team earlier, it's the Philadelphia Eagles, and more so because of, they got a really easy schedule for the rest of the season. Their schedule is not great. Jalen Hurts continues to emerge week over week. Not that I feel like the Eagles will win the NFC East by any means, but this is a team that could finish maybe 10-7, 9-8, and catch themselves an NFC, wild card spot. So the way that they've been playing a bit better every week, I think Philadelphia Eagles are pretty dangerous as they try to make their way up as far as the NFC wildcard spot is concerned.
Yeah, I mean, the Eagles scare me a little bit, mostly because they're in our division. But I look at coaches too, and so I will never bet against Belichick. I will never bet against Andy Reid.
Nate, that sounds familiar.
Those two. Now they're both in the AFC, so they're not an immediate threat until you get to the Super Bowl, but to the Cowboys. But those two organizations right now, there's this. Jaws.
Yes, sir.
Jaws.
Yes,
Here they
They're
come.
coming, yeah.
Here they come, and those are two teams. Now the Rams and the Cardinals in the NFC, I think, because they held out Kyler Murray another week to get him. Now he's got a bye week, so he's going to be 100% going down the stretch. Look what the Rams have done the last couple weeks, with their signings. And, man, they are building a monster out there. So those are the teams that I'm seeing right now that are timing this whole thing up, and the coaches are doing a great job of putting those groups together.
I tell you right here, and I get some kickback from this. This team, in a world of wildness in the NFL, them Cardinals are so consistent. They are so
And you don't hear
consistent.
just a lot about them
Yes.
either,
Yes.
That was a nice win going to Seattle with Colt
like
McCoy.
you said, the main quarterback's not there.
Yeah.
Watch out. And that right there. And I almost lost my mind, man. And forgot about Coach Belichick. I almost lost my mind. But he quickly
He's kind of just hiding back in the weeds, isn't he? Just lurking.
The defense is really good for New England.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that quarterback, man. And I liked it the way Seattle did it with Wilson when he was young. They had the team. I liked it when Dak first was a rookie. We had the team. Now you just got to get a guy that don't make mistakes. Tom Brady has become the GOAT by not making mistakes.
But you very subtly said something that people don't understand. You don't always start with a quarterback.
You're right.
You build what's around it. And if you can do it the way the draft is set up now, you get those first 5 years almost for free. But then you better have something done in those first 5 years before you give them that $40-50 million a year contract. And that's a little bit kind of what scares me about the Cowboys. They've waited now. Those offensive linemen have gotten a little bit older, and Dak and Zeke.
Right.
So they better get something done here in the next couple of years. But to time all that up, and I've always been a believer in that you get the team and then you find the quarterback, more so than what everybody talks about starting with a quarterback.
I'm with you 100%.
You know, that's what I'm seeing. You do it with a season and you do it with a career. You do it with a 10-year, a decade, but you also do it within each season. And right now, those are the teams that I see, at least right now, that everybody better watch out for. They're well coached, well organized, and they'll be there at the end.
All right, Kevin, you start us off. What do the Cowboys need to do tomorrow to get the dub and have victory Friday?
I think it's two things. For me, it starts with the offensive line. You know, you get Tyron Smith back, alongside Connor McGovern, Leo Collins, at the right tackle spot. Last week, they got dominated up front, with Chris Jones and Frank Clark and those guys really getting after them. And I think the other thing, too, is how does Kellen Moore schematically get these receivers open? I think last week these receivers had a lot of difficulty beating one-on-ones, beating press coverage, and not really able to get off and get a chance to get Dak Prescott open targets last week. So how Kellen Moore gets these receivers open, hopefully CeeDee Lamb will be able to play tomorrow, and if he is, that's going to be a guy that I'm looking for to have a big game. They gave him number 88 for a reason, and he's going to have to step up big time against a Raiders team that can get after the quarterback. Max Crosby, Yannick Ngakoue, these guys can get after the passer. So I want to see how Kellen Moore.
Say it again, Yannick
Ngakoue?
Yeah,
you got it. How they get after, they can get after Dak. So Kellen Moore's going to be under the microscope tomorrow to see if he can get these receivers open for Dak.
Well, and what do you have to have when you have press coverage? What does a quarterback have to have? Time,
yeah.
That's the two fit together. I mean, I go all the way back to the 80s with Buddy Ryan and the Bear defense. And the reason it worked is because those guys out on the corners, they were going to get open eventually, but by then the quarterback was laying on his back. So you put the two together, and that's what Kansas City did to us the other day, and it was beautiful. So, it's to me it's pass rush and running game. It's those guys in the trenches. That's why I keep, every time I have a chance to say thank you to a guy like Nate, man, those guys don't get the credit they deserve because it all starts. You've got nothing if you don't win that battle in the trenches. I don't care how good your receivers are. I don't care how good your quarterback is if you don't win that battle in the trenches.
I tell you what, a quality run game. I'm not looking for 150, 160, but I'm looking for 120 good rough yards. To keep the chains moving.
4 yards a carry.
Yeah. Just keep the chains moving and be dominant in the red zone. And
got to capitalize in the red zone.
Yeah. So
I think, and Nate, that's a good point because I think everyone thinks you got to establish the run game, right?
Right.
You can do that early or late, though, right?
That's right. You can.
So what's the best way is it better to come out running the ball and establish that, or is it better to, because you think that they probably are thinking the same thing. We got to take away the run game. Do you come out and throw it around a little bit and then establish it later?
This
what would you
AFC
do?
West opponents that we've played, they want to make you be one-dimensional real quick, and they gonna come out and try to smother us in the run. So if we can get some quality runs, and I'm not talking about we have to just get some quality runs when it counts. Yeah. Play great situational football. If it's 3rd and 2, let's see what Zeke gonna do. Let's don't play action pass a 3rd and 2, But let's see what Zeke can do with a 3rd and 2. If it's 3rd and 5, then okay, it's a guessing game.
Got to stay on schedule.
Yeah, but you got to stay on schedule.
Yep.
There you go. Stay ahead of the chains.
Problem with establishing a running game late is you got to have a lead.
Yes, sir.
If you don't have the lead, you can't do that. So you better get it going early.
Yeah.
And the Cowboys are in a unique position. I mean, on paper, that two-headed monster that the Cowboys have is as good as any in the league. You know, between Tony and Zeke. And the great thing is Tony's improvement in pass protection. He's become a 3-down back, so he can put him in on first down now, not wait till third down to put him in, and give Zeke even more of a break. But yeah, we're set up on paper to do it all. Now we just have to do it.
All right, let's get down to our brass tacks moment presented by Liberty Tax. Liberty Tax is a proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Join the team today at libertytax.com/hiring. Kevin, the Cowboys win if, and your score prediction.
The Cowboys win if the Cowboys run for at least 115 yards, and they win 27-21 at home on Sunday. Or on Thursday, I should say, excuse me.
Tomorrow.
That's right.
Cowboys win if they run the ball for an average of 5 yards on first down, and they win pretty easily, 3-score win.
All right.
Okay.
I like it. Nate, what you got?
Cowboys win because they're going to show up and they're the better team.
There you go. That's all there is to it.
That's it.
Enough said.
You know how I feel. If they win by one, if they win by third, I don't care. Just
score more points than the other team.
Yeah. What you think? What's your thing? 1 minute. We got 1 minute. What you think?
Man.
Gotcha.
I don't know what
Just
to
say Cowboys
think
win
this
and
week.
end the show, Shannon. There you go.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you. I'm with you. I think the running game is going to be key. You know, I think you can beat this team by slinging it around.
Right.
But I think you've got to establish the run game. I don't know what the offense can do without Amari, so I'm not going to go real high over 30. I'm probably going to go 27-21 Cowboys. So
I like it.
You excited to see Luke Combs at halftime, Nate?
Yes, sir.
35-17. 35-17 Cowboys.
35-17. There we go. All right. Nate, it's always a pleasure. Kevin, thank you so much for coming out tonight.
Good to see you.
Hey, man.
Danny, thank you for joining the show. It was great. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. This has been Cowboys Crosstalk on the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
Yes, sir.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!